like the journey we went down this year would not be the same journey that we go down next year because we like end product, right? But we don't want to go through all the steps that we went through.
I think this year we didn't really know where we were going to end up. And so
we tried a bunch of things.
We tried a bunch of things that we know now we wouldn't do again. So I think it's a little bit different thinking about now we know where we're going and what our goal is for our kids. And now it's a different way of how do we get there. And so I think, we've started to have a lot of conversations of kind of that same thing, like what do we do with these kiddos who are so little and are, this is so new to them. So what does that process look like? I think we've talked, we have some ideas, but I think it'll be a new journey for us too, a little bit. So,
but I think we start with more play aspect. Like, I think it's like guided play. Like we give you materials or supplies or, you know, there's things in the room that you are going to eventually use, like to share your learning or to create but at first it's just like, here's this bin, tell me what you can do.
Okay.
Like, have you ever read that book, Reading with Meaning? Like this kind of has nothing to do with this, but when she sets up her classroom at the beginning of the year and they go through like all their book boxes and they like, you know, they sort their books.
Right? Debbie Miller's Reading.
Yes.
Okay.
You know, and they like set up their books and the whole class is like creating like the boxes that they have. And these are the kinds of things that go in this box. And like, I picture it like, okay, these are magnet letters, right? And we explore, and then it's like, okay, what kinds of things can you do with these? And then we just start creating lists.
Okay.
Of like, I mean,
this is how you might use this to show your learning. This is what this material is for. This is what this iPad app is for. Like,
but being kind of like a running, like, not that just because it's on here, this is the only thing you can do with it, right? But like, this is an idea, and we just kind of keep like adding as kids come up with new ways.
It would be an ongoing, a constantly evolving, I think, list of things. We talked a little bit yesterday as well about, you know, because the pathway and letting them build their pathway and have that ownership of it is also, you know, is a huge piece of that. And kind of how do we start to intertwine that within all of this? And I think, you know, one idea we have right now is that, you know, if over the course of, let's say, week 1, where we're doing all of this, maybe we introduce 7 different options, let's say. And so then for the following week, maybe they pick 5 of them. And to start this exploration time, they might start with a different one each day and do a little bit more with whatever materials or apps that it would involve. And then like the second week, you know, now they know 15 things, now choose 5 different things, you know, and constantly just give them that exposure to that and start kind of begin that process for that voice and choice for them in the beginning, but make it a very guided.
And I think also setting it up so that we're learning about them and their interests. So it's like, okay, today I want you to use this to tell me about you, like about your family, about your pets. Like, what do you do after school? Like, just trying to like get to know them, so we can like know what their interests are, so we can kind of direct them.
We've also talked about that incorporating that piece into all of this is huge for that culture and climate piece, because I think that has also been part of what has been so successful with this, is having that culture and climate piece and really like building up that community. I think has really made what we've done this year also successful. So
Well, something that I talked with Alyssa and the Acres Green team about is that learner profile. And I need to do this for them, but we're trying to think of some survey that we can put together with pictures at the beginning of the year to really start building that. So maybe I haven't started it yet. I'll just start it and make it a collaborative thing on Google. But yeah, that culture piece is huge. That's what's gotten you guys where you are.
And even just like really making time to stop and celebrate like every single thing that you really, really like. Yeah. You know, like, yes, this is what it looks like. This is what I would dream for you to be doing right now. This is, you know, because even if at first they're just copying each other.
Yeah. And they will.
And they will. Right. Yeah. I mean, that's what happened, you know, at the beginning. They just did what everyone else was doing.
That's right, because they don't know what they like because they've been told. They've never been in an educational setting probably where they know who they are. They're just always being told. So you've got to go through about 3 months of just what you're saying, that exploration. It's hard.
And we're even thinking, too, that, you know, we would tend to before, like, give them something to do and practice, and then we would, like, take time to, like, assess and things like that. And even though like that's what we would want to do too, but really thinking about like actually we need to be like sitting down with kids, and like if they're building with Legos, we need to be having conversations. Because like when you were in my room and I like, you know, I always pay attention to what you're doing and not what I'm supposed to be doing because it's so interesting to me.
I got to tell the Acres Green girls this, and you, Erin, whenever I'm in Kristin's room, no matter where I am, she always has her eye on me. I feel like I'm in trouble the whole time. But that's exactly the way I was when people used to come in my room, because it's my room and I want to make sure everybody, you know, it's still that control thing that we have. But anyway, go ahead.
But it's also, I just feel like I can learn from the conversations that you have with kids. And I was talking to Erin about how I think that those conversations are going to be huge. Like I need to be sitting on the floor with them when you're building with Legos or you're making words with magnetic letters. I need to be talking about, well, why did you choose that? Like, what do you think you could do next? Like just kind of like I need to be present in that time, not like afterwards we all come together and talk about it. Because I think some rich things happen when you just,
you know, and let them know, say, you know, from the very beginning, I'm building your learner profile. So when you're talking to them, say, oh, I'm going to put that on your learner profile. So that can be a document that lives with them as well.
Right.
So they'll know what they like. They'll know, you know, instead of the being told piece. Acres Green girls, what are you thinking? I can't see Carrie and Lauren. I just see Alyssa.
I think that 3 months of exploration is going to be huge for our kids because we've never really done anything, not for that long anyways. And I think you're right. It would help us get to know our kids and know them better.
Yeah.
Well, and I think it's going to be hard too because we try to hurry to get to the guided reading piece too, and to be able to, you know, get them busy doing their thing so that we can do the reading. And so it's going to be different, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And I know they're still learning, but in a different way. So
yeah. And you guys, what do you think about that guided reading piece? Do you think that they will fail in life if they, if they don't get guided reading every single day that first month? I'm just asking. I don't have an opinion.
No, and I think we need to allow ourselves to move away from that and not have the pressure of doing that, because I think it'll help build stronger learners in the long run, and they'll be more independent further on in the year. So we'll have that ability to meet with them more regularly, and I'll have to go back and reteach expectations and how to be respectful and all that good stuff.
What do you think, Erin and Kristin, about that guided reading piece?
Well, I'm not in a hurry, I don't think, anymore to do to have like any sort of groups necessarily. Like obviously I'm going to get there but I've just seen how much nicer it's been when my kids are engaged. And like this year when they were doing what we called Wonder Workshop, like I didn't have any behavior problems. Like my kids were on task, they were super engaged. And so the last half of the year, my reading groups were like amazing. And well, guess what? All my kids are reading on grade level, like, you know, except for a couple IEPs, like
I think
they're ready for second grade. Like,
I think that'll be a big difference for us for next year compared to any year prior, because I think we've always tried to like make sure everything is well established, I think, before we start that. But there's always something that happens that we feel the pressure. Okay, we got to start groups right now. It has to happen. Like we got to get going, you know, and there's that anxiety over, oh my gosh, we got to get this going. And I think because of how much we've seen our kids grow this year, regardless of us, I think that pressure is maybe gone. Like we will get to that. We will teach them how to read. All of our kids are reading on grade level. Like I don't think we're worried about that piece as much for next year as we have been probably every year prior. So I think the pressure of that is now, we've given ourselves the permission, because we've seen how successful it's been, to not feel like we got to rush to get that in place.
Do you have a taser to get the reading specialist when she comes in and sees that you're not doing groups the second week?
no.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit more about what your Wonder Workshop is?
Yeah, go ahead.
So, you know, at the beginning of this year, we followed kind of a daily 5 framework. And so, you know, they would rotate from one thing to the next while we were pulling groups. And we just found that we were spending so much of our time managing what everyone else in the room was doing. And so it was, you know, sit down, get quiet, get back to work. You need to get this done. And then our group time was really not as great as we would have hoped it to be. So when we started this and really giving kids the ownership of building their pathways and choosing their learning, we don't have to do that anymore. So now, you know, they've picked things that they're interested in, and they're doing projects on things that they want to learn about. And so when they're not with us, that's what they're working on, and they're very engaged in that. So we don't have to manage those behaviors so that our reading groups are better. So we kind of call the whole time where they're working on their pathways and we're pulling kids as our Wonder Workshop. And so within that, we've kind of created like a process that kids will follow as they're doing a project on something of their choosing. So we've started with question. And so they ask a question, and then they research, and then create and share. So that's kind of embedded in that time as well.
And that's what our kids do. I mean, from our like whole morning time, which would be like our morning meeting and then guided reading and then writing. Like if they are not working with us, like that is what they do. They pretty much do what they choose to work on. I mean, we don't really, we don't really tell them very much of what they have to do. We provide lots of different choices, but they do what they want.
But we have used a lot of data. And so without us, the kids know, like, I need to work on fluency. My fluency is not where it needs to be for the end of the year. So then they're choosing options to practice fluency and putting those on their pathway. Or I had kiddos, you know, that didn't know all their sight words. And so they knew they needed to make sure that they put several different options for word work on there to practice their sight words. So we use a lot of, it's not like a total free-for-all, but it's very much the kids totally own, this is where I'm at and this is what I need to work on. And so they're choosing some of their things based on that. And then there's some of we give them that, what are you interested in? Do you want to learn more about coding and practice coding, or building with Legos or whatever?
No problem. When the kids are working on those research projects, are those independent, or do you like have them partner, or
they choose?
Water?
Yeah,
They
choose.
Sometimes they do it by themselves. Most kids work in either 2s or 3s. I've found it's not like I said you can't have more people in your group, but I think when there's too many kids, they realize like they don't get to do anything. And so there are kids that want to do it by themselves, and then there are others that do it together.
They do it together.
So like on our menu, we have it set up with like the 4 C's. And so during the week, they have to do something where they collaborate, like whether it's reading with someone, or if they're going to like quiz each other on their like word work words, or like their sight words, if that's something, and so most of the time collaboration is like their project. That's what or it's like book club or something. But
there's like different math games. Like we have workplaces that go with our math curriculum. Sometimes that will be under there.
Could you guys grab an iPad and show these ladies a finished board on that? Would that help for you guys to see?
Yeah, absolutely.
Anything they can see?
Yeah.
I tried to do it justice, but you guys know. Any questions for Erin, guys, while she stepped away?
They build their boards on Fridays, correct?
Yes. So every Friday they build their pathway for the next week.
And do they do that independently, or how does that work?
Usually we will pull, a small group, kind of depending, a small group of kiddos to our table with us, but we're having the conversations with each child independently. And so, they may be working on it, 3 or 4 at a time, but it's really a very like individualized conversation that we have with the kids about it.
What is the rest of the class doing while you're meeting with that small group? Are they still working on their pathways, or?
They're still working on their pathway, trying to finish up if there's anything that they haven't worked on yet that week.
Okay, I'm trying to get all these stickers off so you can see. I don't even know who this is. I just grabbed one, but okay. So this is what it looks like. And so these stickers, like whoever this is, when they're done, they like just put a little sticky on top so that they can like hold themselves accountable. And then on Fridays, they like turn it into us with like a little reflection that's like, this is what I'm proud of, and these are the things I didn't get to, or it just depends like what they decide to say. But so like they have on here, so they're in a book club. That's what this one is. And then this is Scoop Pad, that's front row. This is challenge boxes. So that's like these math, kind of like STEM challenges that we created this year. This is epic books like Read to Self. This is, obviously they were done with a project, and so they wanted to share. So they put that on there. And then they like have some word choices, book creator. They're doing research. They're going to do STEM, makerspace. So they just kind of.
Girls, I think it would be so awesome if you could get Gina to give you some release to get to Wildcat Mountain.
Yeah.
And see.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because like the research thing they're talking about, it's so funny. It's not a clip chart anymore, but the kids put their clip where they are in the research process.
Okay.
And but they can't take their computer today and show you those things. You know?
Yeah.
So I just got taken down.
Oh, okay.
I'm taking a picture of it. But like this would be like the blank board, right? And we actually now have created like smaller boards for differentiation. Like at first we weren't making them fill this whole thing anyways. Like if they didn't want to. Some kids do, some kids don't, but there was never like a requirement. The only thing was they had to do something in all of the 4 C's. But so now we have like smaller ones too, but it still has all the 4 C's on there.
And so then we just have, I don't want to like watch.
Don't dump them.
Right. So we have all the different options like on a little tile so that they're placing that on the board, and then they'll take a picture of that once they've filled it in with everything that they need.
And we even have, like, if you saw, they wrote makerspace on, like, on a tile.
Yeah.
Because we have some blank ones just because when we first created this, obviously we didn't really know necessarily everything they were going to want to do. And so sometimes they add their own, like, if it's something that we haven't thought of. So.
What did you have at the top? You had the 4 season. What was the 5th one?
Oh, this is called Curiosities.
Okay.
And so it kind of stemmed from, we are hoping to like do some Reggio Emilia, like table type things where they have like some planned possibilities type things that they were going to work on. And we just didn't get it totally put together this year, but that's kind of what that section was for.
Kind of a curiosity center, kind of, with for those rich materials. Yeah.
Okay. So when do you guys have fall conferences? What does that look like when, you've done like basically exploration for the first 3 months? Because we do student-led conferences, so I mean, they could share their projects, but I don't know what I would necessarily have to share with the parents.
That's a really good question. Because also have fall conferences. So,
I mean, I don't know. I think my first thought, and I would probably be, it would be a lot of our like beginning of the year assessments that we have to do.
Sight words and
like
kind of thing.
And maybe the student could talk about some of the different activities that they have been exploring to show their learning.
I mean, that's what I would say. I would be like, here's the assessment that we gave them, and this is how they've been
what they've been doing.
Choosing to practice, or like, and this is why we chose.
Or let the kid kind of say, these are the ways I'm going to be practicing my fluency, or these are the ways I'm going to be, I don't know. Yeah, that is a very good question. Certainly led.
The other thing we found though too is that like and obviously it was the end of the year, but as the year went on, when these kids are doing projects, they have to do a lot of reading to do them. Like they can't. So, they're reading a ton, and they're not even like technically, they know they're reading, but they don't even think of it as like
consider it reading.
Practicing my reading,
And with that, it's been really interesting. Like I had a parent was asking me, she's like, how come I'll tell him the word ball on this page and he turns the page and he still can't read the word ball, but yet when he was really interested in rocks, but he can read metamorphic and he can sedimentary. Like, how come he can read that? And, I think we found that it's been really interesting with that reading aspect, and that I think there's some motivation when it's something that they've chosen that they are interested in and want to learn about. There's some motivation there to learn how to read those hard words, and I think that's been kind of the other piece of all of this that we've seen too. I think we can make the case that, our kids have learned a ton and read a ton and have been motivated to do so.
Can you guys talk a little bit about the parent connection? Have parents been happy, and how has that gone?
I just laugh. I have a parent in my room. So she's lovely. It's been interesting. I think that it goes both ways. I think that, you have these parents who like think that it's amazing and they can't believe the things their kids can do. And so they're just so proud of like the projects and how, I have a little girl who at the middle of the year, she was like in RTI. And then after spring break, she decided she wanted to be in book club with her buddies. And they were all reading this Magic Treehouse book. And I would have said, you cannot read that. There's no way. And she went home and she taught herself because she was going to be in that book club. And now she's like reading at 24. I mean, it happened in like months. And her mom has been like, oh my gosh, like, thank you so much. Because if you would have just made her keep reading that level 12, 14, I mean, she drowned it. She hated it. And now she's like, can read, you know, anything. But then you have other parents who, like, I have a former educator parent, and, you know, she thinks that I'm not doing enough phonics, and that every time her son spells a word wrong, it's because I didn't, like, drill and kill phonics. You know, but I'm also a product of, like, when I was in second grade, I had phonics tests, like you have spelling tests. Like, they would say earlier of her, and I would have to write ER on my paper. I'm the worst speller in the world. So, like, I'm trying to explain that to her, that it's not
I've had
just
a couple
me, but
interesting things with parents too. You know, for example, I had this little one. She wanted to learn about ancient Egypt for whatever reason, and she has been working on this project for a while, but she's learned a ton. I mean, I have learned way more about ancient Egypt than I ever really thought I needed. And part of it was she one day was telling me about it, and, you know, I am so stressed out. I'm like, honey, don't be stressed. You know, but she was working on this huge.
Is it like sarcophagus? What is it?
I can't
think
remember.
It's a sarcophagus.
At home that she was building. And so the other day her mom brings it in. Her mom's like, thank you so much. She goes, I just love to see how passionate she is about something, and to see her, like, really put her time and effort into something that she is interested in.
And it is really amazing.
It is really amazing. It's
huge. I, like, walk in the other day, I'm like, what is that? It feels like the project somebody did at home.
Yeah. And like, so that's been really cool to see. And the other thing, so, you know, that parent has been really supportive. And then, you know, there was an article written, and so this mom on kind of some of the things we've been doing, and I had her older daughter, I've known her for several years, and she emailed me one day, and she said, you know, I came across this article about you and Kristin and what you've been doing in your rooms, and she goes, oh my gosh, she goes, everything that you're doing just makes so much more sense now. I really understand why you're doing that in your classroom. And this is a parent who is in there all the time and volunteers, and I've known for a while. And I think sometimes what's hard is that if you were just to maybe walk in our door and you didn't really know what was going on, it is louder. It is messier. Mm-hmm. It does, you know, it looks different than maybe what I think is the typical, what people expect, I think, sometimes. And so I think without knowing what's really going on and what the kids are really working on, sometimes it looks different, you know, but she was really very supportive. And so, you know, I think it's been nice, because sometimes you usually hear from the people that aren't happy. And I think my experience so far with this has been hearing from parents that have been very excited so far. And so that's been really nice to know. And I'm sure there's people who kind of wonder what all these things that their kids are bringing home really are. But, but I think it's been I think what speaks the loudest to me, and what we found, is when you talk with our kids, how excited they are and how much they can tell you about what they've learned. And really, like, the kids are when you talk to them, you're like, oh my gosh, and how much they can explain to you about this. And I think what was really cool for me this morning, like in our staff meeting, they made it for our last staff meeting, they made a video just like thanking teachers. And so they had kids from each classroom, and one of the kids from my room that they talked to, like, what do you like best about first grade and Mrs. Cordova? And he's like, that I get to build my pathway and choose the things that I want to learn about. And I'm like, yep, that's
wow.
Yeah. So,
that always make me cry.
So it's been,
you know, and I have I had a like pretty significant behavior problem at the beginning of my year, like so bad that I was pretty miserable, and parents were pretty miserable with me because I was like calling them all the time, you know. And I had like said in a conference that he was like, in a nice way, I was like, you know, he's pretty immature. He's like pretty aggressive. Like, I don't know. And she did not like what I said to her about him. And so she like wanted him out of my room. She was like, you know, this is maybe just like we're sure Miss Wright's a great teacher, but this maybe is not a great dynamic. And ever since January, when we like did this crazy switch, I mean, he's like my all-star. And he like is like amazing, and like he's always engaged. Like he makes the coolest projects. Like I could just like cry, and like mom and dad are like, oh my God, thank goodness that like we just like waited it out. Like, you know, but I mean, something had to change for him. And so, and now he's reading on grade level, which is like crazy. So, you know.
Well, I know that I'm looking at my clock, and this Zoom thing is free until a certain minute. So I've got like 7 minutes, or we'll have to start paying. But anyway, I just wanted to be a matchmaker for you guys, and I hope you can continue your collaboration.
Oh,
yes, please, like reach out to us. Like we're happy to share. Or
oh, thank you.
Yeah,
it's kind of scary trying something new, so it's like, you know,
totally.
all the help we can get to at least get started.
When I started with Erin and Kristin, they said, well, maybe we'll have a little bit of free time on Fridays, and we'll just do the Daily 5 classically for the other days. So with that, you can see how far they came. So it can be done, and now you guys are like district superstars. So
thank you. We are so excited. And
I know. Thank you.
Unfortunately, I have to run to a staff meeting, and
sure,
you guys are about ready to go pick up kids too. But we'll definitely email and get in contact with you.
Thanks, guys. And I made a recording of this whole meeting. I'm going to put it on YouTube and share it with you. Okay?
Okay. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.